About 18 hours after crossing the finish line, time to have a little cooling off period and step back and reflect on how race day went, how race weekend went. And, you know, I woke up this morning still with that empty feeling, knowing that my performance to me was unacceptable.
And yet, you know, Team Saunders Tri, we're still a small group, but a mighty group. And we have great personal connections with everybody. And I think that alone, having that extra personal connection, you feel you want everyone to have their best day.
Started out the morning with the swim, and I know the talk of this race is always how cold the water is. It was 58.1 degrees for race day, and we had our long sleeve wetsuits, full sleeve suits on.
Got into our wetsuits. I had a brand new Sailfish Ultimate IPS 3, and I've got to tell you, I'm in love with this. It goes on with ease, goes off with ease, and it has great mobility throughout the entire body.
Got into the water, and to me, it felt great. Sometimes in cold water, you have the cold face, cold hands, and cold feet for maybe the first 150 to 200 yards, but I don't even recall experiencing that in the swim on race day.
Once we jumped in, you honestly don't feel the cold as bad as it is hyped up to be. Do not believe the hype.
I felt really good and found a pace to settle in, and just told myself just to be strong in the swim and keep going. One thing different this year compared to last year is it seemed like there were a lot more bodies in the water. And I looked at the finisher list from this year compared to last year, and there were 600 more finishers in 2023 than there were in 2022.
So it felt awfully crowded in the water. Honestly, I took a lot of contact. I got hit in the face, people were pulling my legs, pulling my arms. I'm just swimming along in my line, and I got squeezed out a couple times from swimmers coming up on either side of me. So honestly, I did not have the swim that I was hoping to have. That was actually one of my 2 goals for the day, was to go sub 40. I'm still chasing that sub 40.
Felt really good on the swim. I was thinking ahead to how I hoped my day would plan out, thinking of strategies. And, you know, at that point coming out of the water, I thought, all right, this is gonna be a really good day. Got out of the water, saw it was 36:40 something swim, which was right about what I did last year, just a little bit slower. But again, I attribute that to just having to navigate a little bit more, swim through some more bodies, and having the contact. So I think without that, it probably would have been a faster swim than last year, but that was the conditions on the day and everybody had to deal with it. So there we go.
Came out of the water 42 minutes and some change. But I will say, with all the contact that I endured, I'm not disappointed. I'm okay with it.
Made my way to the bike in transition and made my way to the start line. And I think a few people that came up to us during race week talking about Caitlin's experience not getting up the hill very well last year. I wanted to make sure that I got up the hill, even though it wasn't an issue for me last year. I didn't want to be the one this year that had any kind of falter. Got on the bike, got up the hill, gave a little encouragement.
How you doing, Caitlin? Is how you do it?
Or maybe a little jab to Caitlin 2022. And I went on my way on the bike.
Got my bike out of T2, got to the mount line, and I mounted my bike and I got up that hill this time. So no debacle like last year at the mount line. So pretty proud of myself for that one. I made sure I was in the right gear the day before at bike drop off to make sure I got up that thing.
As I got started on the bike, I thought I was feeling really good. I was averaging just under 20 miles an hour. So I was going along the typical bumpy roads the first 15, 20 miles of this course. I mean, somebody rode up next to me and said that they'll have to go see their dentist after this. And yeah, I kind of shook some cavities out for sure, shook some teeth out because it is bumpy. But it gets better as you go. The thing that happened to me that was kind of the first challenge that I faced on the day and have never experienced before is I was passing a couple of riders and moving forward, feeling good. And as I was looking over my shoulder to get back in position on the right side of the road, I must have hit some type of bump that I couldn't see. And all I could see in the corner of my eye was my black hydration and my Garmin computer tumbling from beyond the front of my bike to the road. And in the moment, I was somewhat stunned and shell-shocked, just thinking, oh my gosh, did that really just happen? And then immediately, what am I going to do about it? And I was continuing moving forward. It wouldn't have been safe to pull over at that moment. So I knew that we were gonna make a U-turn and I was gonna come back to that point. So I had a few options. A was hope that the hydration system was still there and intact when I came back and I would pick it up, or B, it was gonna be a lost cause and I was gonna say goodbye to my Garmin and goodbye to my hydration unit.
It may have been maybe not even mile 10, and there's cones dividing the road. Just before one of the cones, I see that there is a Containaroo hydration system, and I saw a blip of orange color attached to it. I'm like, my heart sank. I was like, I hope that's not Tiffany's, but I think that's Tiffany's. And shortly after that, as I'm going out, she's coming back in, and I spotted her bike, and it was not on her bike.
As I made the turn to come back toward where my hydration system was, I saw Caitlin coming toward me the opposite way. She was making up good ground on me, and I could hear her say, "Where's your hydration?" And so I kind of cringed a little bit because I didn't want my race and my misfortune to impact her. But just as I would for her, obviously she was concerned and probably a little bit distraught for me that I experienced that. Continued to go on the bike. I saw my hydration in the middle of the road, which was probably the best place it could possibly be. I was able to get off the road safely, let a couple riders pass. I was able to walk my way to the hydration unit, pick it up out of the middle of the road, walk back to my bike. Shortly after I got back to my bike, Caitlin comes riding up beside me. She stopped, offered to help, insisted on helping. I told her to please go ahead because I didn't want my race to impact hers, and I knew she had a really good chance to have some great redemption today. And also, I, again, didn't want to cost her any time for any reason. The one highlight of the bike is always riding on the thermal raceway, the actual race car track. That's pretty cool. Everybody's zooming around and you can hear the race cars on the other part of the track zooming by. It's an exciting feeling, and that's one of the things that makes this race unique and special, is being able to do that on the bike course. And I think you talk to anybody that did the race, that's got to be on the tops of their list of how this course is laid out.
T2, I got to the dismount line, no problem, got off. And as I always do, I ran my bike to my rack. Fortunately, we had really great numbers and it was the very first rack and I was on the outside, so I was very easily able to spot where I had to rack. The run, yes, the golf course has a lot of rollers and it is not an easy course by no means. But the spectators, the volunteers, the groups out there, I would have to say that maybe this race is at the top of the list for how much they get you pumped up and how exhilarating and energized and ramped up they are for you, and in turn that gets you ramped up. And how could you not want to go out and crush your day after receiving all of this incredible energy?
Got to transition and I knew that it was going to be a tough run. I had a lot of talk in my mind to myself, you can walk this half marathon and still be okay, you can still finish, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to settle, and I knew that I had a chance to get a little of my own redemption from this race from last year. It's an honest run course. By all means, it's no slouch. It's not flat at all. But I told myself not to walk at any point during these hills or when it got hard. It wasn't fast. My run was actually slower this year than it was last year when I walked. It was just a culmination of a tough day, again, a tough training block, and maybe not feeling 100% on the day. I had some stomach issues the couple days leading up. It was hard to eat breakfast the morning of the race. I really tried to get down any kind of calories that I possibly could before the race started, and I was eating some Hawaiian rolls, and it just normally, you know, those things are really good and they go down easy, but for me it was just a struggle. You know, we couldn't do race day without the volunteers and everybody who makes all the logistics come together, so a huge shout out for them for making it happen for us. And then one more station, it wasn't an aid station, but I think it was a recharge station, the Lululemon cheer group. They were on the corner of the run course around the track going back to Indian Wells Tennis Garden, and they just rocked. They were so awesome. They cheered for everyone like they knew you, like they were your BFF.
Need about 6 more miles of that.
In the golf course, there is a 11-mile marker, and I had already passed it, but shortly behind me, I heard someone say, 2 miles left, what are you gonna do with them? And internally, it just like beasted me up. I'm like, man, I'm gonna dominate these 2 miles. There may have been an expletive in my mind at that time as well. So those last 2 miles, I charged through as best as I could, and I could see my pace dropping a little bit. And by the time I hit that finish line, oh my gosh, I was like running my best pace of the day. And once I hit that carpet, I threw my hands up and I was trying to get the crowd to give me some love, give me some noise. And man, that's just, there's no feeling like a finish line feeling.
You know, I can't help but be energized and appreciative of everyone who has come out to support their athletes on the day and stand along the rail of the finish chutes. So a lot of times, this is what we do it for, right? The medal, the shirt, the finisher hat. I crossed the finish line and I was pretty emotional. Tends to be the case. I was emotional because of the disappointment in my day. But one thing that I kept thinking of on the bike ride is we met a family a couple days before the race, and a young girl named Peyton, and she and her mom and her family said that they were big fans. They watch the YouTubes. And Peyton is a young swimmer in Las Vegas, and took a picture with her and carried on. And for some reason on the bike ride, when it was tough, all I could think is that somehow, for some reason, we make an impact in sharing our story and sharing our journey. And all I could think of is, even though it was tough, I had to finish because I need to be an example that even on your toughest days, even when it's a grind, you want to finish the race because you never know who's watching. After the race, had my time with Caitlin, had some tears, frustration. We were walking to go pick up our bikes, and out of the corner of my eye comes Peyton running up to congratulate me on my day. And that was so special that she made an effort to congratulate me on a day that I wasn't proud of. But yet it's still a finish, and you never know who's watching. And in the moment, I felt it was only right, because she helped carry me to the finish line, that I parted with my medal, but I wanted her to have it because she was a part of my day, a part of my weekend, a part of this journey. So I gave her the medal and told her to go be a triathlete someday. No doubt she probably will be, and she'll probably be at the professional ranks. And it'll be cool to see what her journey ends up being. So we shared some kind words. Her mom, her family was just absolutely precious, and another reminder that this sport is really powerful and connective and special because we get to share it and we get to feed off the energy of one another, and we get to motivate and inspire others to levels we may never know. And the ones that we do get to meet and do get to interact with, we'll treasure and take with us as long as we continue to do this sport.